hailstorm had come in. And what it did is it knocked down a ton of apples, as you can see. It started bruising apples, like you can see on the table with those apples. And then it over-ripened the apples because of the amount of water that the plants took in. This equated to 250,000 apples in one storm. So that equates to 88,000 pounds. So the root of the problem that was just seen at one farm is actually seen across America in micro-scale farms. They lose about 30 to 40% of their produce due to the secondary items that you see in front of you. This equates to 196 million pounds of farmers that are losing Market 1 USDA produce. This is causing a 12% decrease in the net revenue for micro-scale farming, and something that they just can't compete with big ag because they need to keep their prices high. So this is our prime example of a farmer. This is Jim Saunders. This is somebody who we work with. And the average age of a farmer is 59 years old, where Jim kind of lies. And he makes $19,600. Does that sound like a good income to anybody in this room? It doesn't to me. That's actually equivalent to a McDonald's worker, and he works 12 to 18 hours a day. And so this growing problem of the need of a younger generation to stimulate, to have food, I'd like to keep eating, is a huge issue. There's not a next generation of farmers to continue. So what's our mission? Our mission is to generate high revenue opportunities for micro-scale farmers by creating delicious snacks from those forgotten items that you're seeing on that table. So we're starting our product line with the Cran Apple Crisp. So as you pass that around, there's actually two different ones. That is the honey, that's the more sweet version. This is the more tart version, so if you'd like to swap. Coming down the pipeline at the end of the summer is a spicy paprika carrot crisp, as well as a Himalayan salted zucchini crisp. So at the heart of our business is really partnership. And I know everyone hears that in conferences and all over, that you need to partner. But we're actually doing it. We're going to make impact because we're not working with individual farms. We're working with a food hub called 4P Foods, who has access to 200 farms in the local area. Not only that, we know that entrepreneurship is it's heavy on the startup costs. We don't want to start production by ourselves. We're entering into a community kitchen called Mess Hall in DC. Why is DC so important to us? Because of those chips that you see in front of you, we're targeting that millennial group, the 20 to 39-year-olds, because they want sustainably grown local produce. And they have that median income that we're looking for in this alternative snack market. I want to give you a 6-month snapshot to let you know how aggressive we really are to get this product in stores and really selling. So just to bring you through a little bit, in June is when we're going to start production at Mess Hall. So we're going to have our test kitchen run in May. And then in July, we're going to start a soft opening with green events and farmers markets in the area. We don't want to start our wholesale product until August and September. We want to make sure that all of our sourcing is in line, that we have these relationships built with 4P Foods as well as the farmers in the area. And jumping into April, just to see how aggressive and how much we want to start this, is we have our test run at Mess Hall tomorrow. That's our first one. They're so interested in our product that they actually want us to be in there. They're doing it for free. We also got very lucky, and we have a Whole Foods mentor at corporate. She's helping us really redesign our logo, our branding, and packaging. So we're competitive in the alternative market because it is getting more crowded as we see the years go by. The next thing that was super exciting that we got notice of yesterday is that we actually got the scholarship to be in the Seed Spot Accelerator starting on Monday. And lastly, I've been at the local impact conference the past 2 days. I brought chips to local farmers, to USDA people. It was a huge hit. I already started negotiations with farmers markets. We're already in one for the summer, just on taste alone. So what's the competitive landscape? So that's where we'd like to show you. Our biggest competitors are going to be Bare and Peeled. Peeled is the revenue market leader for apple chips in the area, or dehydrated. But as you can see, it's very chewy. And it's definitely a dehydrated product. This alternative snack, you would kind of think more on the line of trail mix. So we really beat them on taste. Now next is social mission. These two don't really have a social mission. So what we're really trying to build with this brand is the story of the farmer. Let's get back to the dirt. Let's get these people Let's help their revenue. Let's help them have economic impact in their communities. The other thing that we really see with our product versus others is that we have this huge, there's actually like, yep, there's a niche, but it's huge. No alternative snacks is in sandwich shops. All you see is potato chips. This is a perfect thing to go with those barbecued pork sandwiches with a brie and turkey sandwich. And we really are targeting that as our first niche market.
So as the previous slide showed you, Stephanie kind of pointed out that we are right in line with the other retail competitors, Bear and Peel. We're going to be selling retail at $2.99 per bag. A bag is 1.5 ounces. And so how does that break out to us? So we have a 35% margin set up between us and Whole Foods, which means that we're going to be selling wholesale to Whole Foods at $1.94. So in year one, 43% of that number is going to be cost of goods sold, 35% is going to be operating expenses, and a profit margin of 22%. So what is the difference between year one and year six? In year six, we really visualize and are focused on trying to maintain our profit margin and not cannibalize ourselves. Sorry. What's going to happen in year six is obviously operating expenses is going to go up. We're going to have cooks. We're going to have more marketing people. We're going to have salespeople. But the difference is going to be because of our buying power and because of the difference that we're making to these farmers, we're going to be able to buy these products at a much lower cost while still maintaining the same margin to Whole Foods. So what are we asking for? Today we're asking for $300,000 of startup money to help us fund this company. How does that break out? Approximately just about $207,000 of that startup cost is immediate startup costs. Rent, initial produce, capital expenditures, things of that nature. The other $93,000 is going to be of produce that we are going to buy and store in the peak market of September, October, November, and sell in January, February, March, and April of next year. So how are we going to expand initially? Initially, we're going to be expanding through retail, our own retail, getting out there and selling this product at farmers markets and green events and world fairs. So what we're going to be doing, expanding in the short term, years 1, 2, and 3, is we're going to be expanding up and down the East Coast where the food hubs are most concentrated, which is the map on the right. And then that matches up with the map on the left, which is in the dark blue areas. Well, this entire map is micro small farms. The dark blue is the highest concentration, and this is farms that sell under $1 million of goods each year. So you can see that there's good opportunity for us to expand in the short term up and down the East Coast. So this is our 6-year projection. So this is what we look like going. So what I'd like to focus in here is years 3, 4, 5, and 6. The end of year 3, we've expanded through all the DC metro area, Baltimore, and moving into Philadelphia. In year 4, we're into Philadelphia. And toward the end of year 4 is when we're really starting to negotiate with Whole Foods and be in multiple Whole Foods up and down the all up and down the East Coast, approximately 12 or so. Then in year 6, when we finally hit $10 million of gross sales, that is when we are fully into Whole Foods, fully integrated, expanding with them on a national basis.
So this is all great, and that we have our business plan together, we've explained the problem, but really at the heart of a social enterprise, you need to be sustainable and you need to be able to show that you're going to have measurable impact for these communities that you're working with. So at the heart of all of this is the social piece. We have highlights in 3 pillars of sustainability. So really we want to show the younger generation that there is opportunity in farming. We're going to help pilot this. Local agriculture is becoming a huge trend, and I don't really see it going anywhere. I heard the former CEO of Whole Foods speak yesterday. He said it's here to stay. This is not a trend that's going to come and go. Then third, which is a little bit unique to us, is that we're bringing jobs back to rural America. Yes, we're starting our production at Mess Hall, but what we envision for the future is that our manufacturing sites are going to be near farms so that the other people can be part of this process. And in their off-season, too, they can be cooks or they can be processors. This leads to our economic impact. The really cool thing about this model is that even if we only purchase 1,000 pounds of produce from a certain farmer, that income we showed earlier jumps by 13 to 15%, depending on how many hired hands they have at the farm. Our first purchase will be $3,000. So you can just imagine the opportunities for these farmers. And secondly, we're providing an outlet to sell. This is a new marketplace. This is technically wasted food. Some people have already gone through this, but we're really want to focus on the economic impact of the farmers. If they have a family, that income I showed you before is below the poverty line, so this really can alleviate that. The last thing is environmental impact. So this is really an output for us. This is not in our heart of our mission. We're people-focused, but as an output for that first year, we're going to divert 68,000 pounds all the way to year 6. 1.7 million pounds of produce is being diverted from landfills.
So who are we? So Stephanie is our CEO, our founder, our visionary, and really the engine that is going to make this thing run. She has a very unique background and she is ready to make this company work full go. She has 10 years background in culinary and sales and marketing. She specifically has worked as a wholesaler for Whole Foods, and she has worked inside of Whole Foods for the company. So she's uniquely prepared to get us in with these national retailers. She brought me in at the end of December of last year as someone with business background and financial investment background. Recently completed my MBA from GW. I've done 12 years of real estate sales and investment in the business world. These are our advisors, and we've had a number of help from faculty and everybody all over the school, and we would just love the opportunity to continue to pitch you guys in the finals and have the opportunity to win $35,000.
Okay, I'll jump in. So explain again 4P Foods and the line from how you guys interact with each step of the process.
Sure. So 4P Foods is a food hub. So what they do, they're actually a unique business. They have two parts to it. So they're a community shared agriculture. So they're a CSA, so they gather all this produce from farmers and they sell it to offices so that you go home at the end of your week with fresh produce from their 200 farmers. Now, also what the Food Hub does is it directs people to relationships with micro-scale farmers because, unfortunately, the reality is that farmers markets are not as profitable as they once were. So these food hubs have been starting to pop up to make relationships for manufacturers and processors like us. But most people go the route of always going right to the farmer because you want that connection. But using a food hub, I can still have that connection, but I have bigger impact then.
Sorry, can I add to that question?
Yeah, because I guess my full question was kind of what is your role in every step of the process from collecting the
delivering
fruit to
it
ship in a very, very brief
Sure.
way.
So the farmers, they deliver it to 4P Food Hub in Virginia. 4P Food delivers it to us at Mess Hall. We process it there, we bag it there, and then it's stored there. There's like a storage area, and then me and him aggressively selling the product at farmers markets and eventually wholesale.
So piggybacking on that, 4P is really a means to an end in the near term. Like there, your access to the produce, the apples, etc., is the ideal state to disintermediate them. I'm assuming there is a financial obligation to 4P. What does that financial obligation look like? And at scale, you don't want to go through 4P, right?
So we actually kind of talked about this. We've talked about this a lot, actually. But yes, in the short term, working with 4P, expanding with the food hubs as that map showed in the short term before we are up to scale with Yes Market and Whole Foods. Got to do it that way. We're going to be out retail selling it. In the long term, we want to take jobs back to the farms. Right. We want to have a direct relationship with the farmers. We want to be producing these things on the farms to create more jobs in rural America.
What's your economic and binding relationship to 4P today?
As of today, we're still negotiating. I mean, we're still working out.
What would that look like potentially?
It kind of he's been a huge mentor in this, and he is a huge advocate for the secondary produce market. Totally. So really, all he wants to charge us is a delivery fee.
Right.
So,
but I think there's a distinction between his individual contributions for his work, which is great.
Okay.
And then what actually ends up making it harder for you to scale in the future because of an economic and binding situation of 4P
So
as a partner.
A contract as a partner.
Right.
We don't have a contract with Whole Foods, with 4Ps as a partner right
Yeah,
now.
and I don't think we'll have anything that like binds us to
Right.
a
So
year.
you could go and
Yeah.
there's very low switching costs potentially to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Correct.
And scale up.
And multiple food hubs throughout the Northeast that we're going to be working
Okay,
with.
great.
Right, so not non-exclusive.
It's
And,
not,
and
couldn't be.
the other thing that like makes us really comfortable having this partner in the beginning. He's been very upfront
I
about
think it's
which
the right
farmers.
way to do it. So that's
Yeah,
not even, there's no
okay.
scrutiny on that.
Okay.
You got to get up and running. You got to
Right.
prove it out. Totally
Okay.
get that. I have a couple more, but yeah.
So obviously, a lot of your idea in terms of sales focuses on Whole Foods because of pre-existing relationships, which is wonderful. But Whole Foods can be a little bit difficult to scale with. So talk to me about what other types of kind of distribution channels you guys are thinking of.
Sure. So that niche market that I did talk about with the sandwiches. So we got lucky again where the founder of Mess Hall actually knows the founder of Taylor Gourmet and has a very good relationship. And so he's going to be introducing us to Taylor Gourmet as well. So really, I think also scaling with sandwich shops and eventually seeing ourselves. I mean, I can even see it in a Panera or a Potbelly's because we can give them the margins that they need to compete with the other chips that are on their shelf.
Right. So basically, you're seeing this as coming into really the chip category in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yes.
Then just very quickly talk to me about why other products that are similar to this haven't gone into the chip category yet, or haven't been able to very successfully. Because I go to a lot of sandwich shops, and I generally am not offered this type of product.
I think it's taste. I mean, you tasted that it's not really a chip. It's like the dehydration method versus the method of cooking that we use. That's very rubbery. And I can't imagine eating that with a sandwich. It doesn't go in terms of taste profile, texture. And I think that this whole dehydration is just like really hot in culinary right now. So that's why people have been going this route.
I have a couple questions too. One is I agree with the Whole Foods. Also in Whole Foods, I also have a food product. So Whole Foods is great, but there's a ton of competition on the shelf. And so I think kind of betting the farm on that isn't always, you have the brand behind it, but not necessarily is going to move the product. But you've got like these Glens markets and lots of smaller markets where you might see a lot higher volume. Just as well, like creating a partnership with Starbucks would be phenomenal because they do have stuff like this on their snack shelves. My question is really all around the labor costs, and I'm curious, as you scale, like it's great you're in Mess Hall now, and if you're planning to sell to 15 Whole Foods, like that works for you. But if you really want to be like a serious player, like what is your plan to invest in like the right kind of equipment and machinery and get your own production facility? And then also what comes with that and with your operating costs, you need to think about like just the labor intensive, whether you're going to have machines that like cut it all up and kind of dehydrate in mass quantities. But then there's also the people factor there too.
So I think it's really two parts. I can answer the part about the expansion of the company and then go back to the cost of the employees. But basically, we're going to be in Mess Hall. Then my background is really in expanding tenants all over the United States of America in commercial real estate, rentals, things like that. We're going to be looking immediately for possibly to buy we haven't decided whether we're going to be buying our own buildings or renting space, renting storage space, things like that in order to grow. But we're going to have, we have our distribution channels figured out. They're going to be bringing it into our stores, whether it's one store, two stores.
Yeah,
in
but
each
not
main area.
distribution. I'm talking production, like actual
Right.
machinery that's going to cut all the apples for you. Otherwise,
Right.
as you expand, you're going to have 15 people.
We've
there.
actually, I don't have the actual full breakout of the
Yeah.
financials, but we have capital expenditures in years 3, 4, 5, and 6 to buy those products. So that has been budgeted into our costing and everything like that. We have broken that out. So we have our financials in here. It's just in order for the sake of space, I have put them in here without the full breakout of the operating expenses. But those numbers for purchasing those items are in capital expenditures.
We have 25 seconds. This I think is to help
Go
all of
ahead.
us.
Yeah.
The competitors you had, Bear
Yes.
and et cetera, could you talk a little bit about how big they are, how much they've raised, like what's the process they've gone through, how many years have they been in business to get to where they are now?
So Bear has been in business for about think 6 years. But they just got a huge contract with Starbucks.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.